All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name is Aaron. Happy New Year. I don't know if you were like me, but all throughout New Year's Eve, I was waiting, I was watching, I was ready to blast through $30,000. It never happened. I mean, we stayed above the trend lines the whole time, continued to make a series of higher highs throughout the night. We actually topped out at 29,700. So in this video, I want to talk to you about my price prediction for 2021. You know, this cycle totally different from the last cycle, so I'm going to share with you my prediction. I always see in the comments, though, hey, let's wait till we get past $30,000 before we talk about, the moon prices. And I agree with you, so let's talk about that. At the gates of 30,000, I see two possible scenarios. Number one, we reject the wall at $30,000. We correct, we regroup, possibly multiple times, eventually taking $30,000, following 2017's trajectory, which would obviously be very bullish. Possibility number two, we scale the wall of $30,000 with little resistance, following 2013's price trajectory, extremely, obscenely bullish. So what do you think? More like 2017 or more like 2013? That is the question. Now, before we get to my price prediction, before I share with you the number, and I want to hear your price predictions in the comments below, where do you think the price of Bitcoin will be at the end of the year? We'll check the comments. We'll see who's right 1 year from today. But before I give you my number, let me again share with you why I'm so highly confident that we can reach such an astronomical number, which I'll share with you in a second. And really pay attention to these three tabs right here, because again, I want to clue you in. The new class of buyer is causing Bitcoin to go through a supply squeeze, and it is revealing. The number of people hodling lots of Bitcoin surges in a rare whale spawning season. Large investors continue to accumulate Bitcoin, possibly putting upwards pressure on the cryptocurrency's price. Yeah, they are putting upwards pressure. We'll talk about that in just a second. The number of whale entities, so clusters of crypto wallet addresses held by a single network participant, hodling at least 1,000 Bitcoin, rose to a new record high of 1,994 on Wednesday. So realize the significance of this. It has literally never been more expensive to accumulate one Bitcoin, let alone 1,000, yet we're seeing unbelievable demand for, you could call them expensive Bitcoins, I call them cheap Bitcoins. And by the way, this metric has increased by over 16% this year and 7.3% this quarter alone. A quote from a CEO of a crypto company: "We have just entered a rare whale spawning season with high net worth and institutions recognizing this is the last call to build a significant storage of Bitcoin." I tend to agree with that. So the data shows that Bitcoin is going through a shift from being a speculative asset to a macro investment asset, and that switch is mainly being driven by the increasing acceptance from global institutions as well as investors from around the world. Truly, a mass perception shift is happening with Bitcoin, and it's really because they can't ignore it any longer. Bitcoin is 2020's best performing institutional asset. So look at this chart. You can see that Bitcoin just barely eked out a win for best performing asset, just barely beat gold and banks and bonds and cash, just barely. Peep this, people. Grayscale buys nearly 3 times the amount of Bitcoin that was mined in December. One company. Do you realize the implications of just one company buying 3 times the newly produced Bitcoin? Let's put this in perspective a little bit, because we've been seeing stories like this for months, and it wasn't just but a couple months ago when Bitcoin was hovering under $13,000 for a long time. And a lot of people were asking, we're seeing demand outstrip supply. Why isn't that affected in the price? And guess what? That happened. And we are still seeing stories like this continue. So let's find out the details. Institutional crypto investment giant Grayscale now has $20 billion under its control as its Bitcoin buys outstrip production by almost 3-1. So here are the numbers. Last month, the company added a total of 72,000 Bitcoin to its assets under management. During the same period, miners generated just 28,000 Bitcoin, and one company bought 3 times the amount. The figure underscores what many have described as an ongoing liquidity squeeze in Bitcoin, where large buyers suck up any available supply and remove it from circulation, sending it to cold storage for a long-term hodl. As Cointelegraph reported, this phenomenon was already visible in November, but December we saw a clear increase in demand from Grayscale and other institutional entities. Going forward, analysts predict that more demand for the fixed supply of new Bitcoins from miners will only serve to create a bidding war and push the price up further. Sellers already faced stiff resolve from buyers in December when new all-time highs failed to produce significant, long-lasting pullbacks. And by the way, we're finally starting to see Bitcoin peek through to retail investors just like you and me, Bitcoin making higher highs on Google Trends. This is interesting to see. So, with all that being said, and before we get to a little altcoin news, with all that being said, let's talk about my 2021 Bitcoin prediction. And to preface this, I want to say that I think this next year will be more like 2017. So actually, let's check this out. New Year's resolution, HODL. Bitcoin has advanced 8 out of the 10 years at a historically rapid pace. Let the winners run. Don't fight the trends. So, a lot of people are saying that capital inflows into Bitcoin are showing similarities to 2017. And if Bitcoin truly is similar to 2017, well, before I give you my price prediction, Tom Lee will explain.
I think in rounder numbers, 2021 is going to be a lot like 2017, which means Bitcoin should do even better in 2021 than it did in 2020. So something above 300%.
More than 300% return on Bitcoin. Correct. Is what you're forecasting.
So Bitcoin is in a bull trend. Let the winner run. Don't fight the trend. Last year, Bitcoin did 300%, and knowing bull markets, this next year should outperform the last year, since now we're in a full-blown maturing bull market. And if last year we did 300%, this year we should at least hit 300%. And if we do, that would have a price of $112,000. So it needs to be over that price to outperform. Bare minimum, $112,000 Bitcoin. So, what do you think? Do you agree with that prediction? Do you disagree with it? Just a few months ago, that would have seemed unheard of, but now it kind of seems realistic, if not underplaying things. Let me know your thoughts below, and we'll finish up this video with some altcoin news. While Ethereum crosses 750 for the first time in 31 months, we've discovered that there are 39 more Ethereum addresses holding 10,000 ETH compared to just 2 months ago. So it's getting harder to accumulate ETH. Despite that, we're actually seeing high net worth individuals accumulate ETH just in the past 2 months. Meanwhile, the amount of addresses holding between 1 and 10,000 ETH, so retail, has shrunken over this time. So that's interesting. High net worth individuals are accumulating ETH. Retail is selling. I think there's more to the Ethereum story coming out in 2021. Give me your predictions below. I want to hear price predictions and, anything like that. And 2021, baby, it's going to be a great year.